recording.
You can start from the blank one first.
Alright, whenever you're ready, okay?
In today's society, there are many debates about what people are allowed to do with their own bodies. These arguments can range from anywhere from birth control to abortion to physician-assisted suicide. The morality of this subject has been debated and fought over for years and has only managed to gain legalization in only a handful of states in the United States and a very small number of foreign countries. Montana does not have a Death with Dignity Act. However, the end-of-life option is legal through the Montana Supreme Court. According to the news outlet Newsweek, the Netherlands was the first country to legalize human euthanasia in 2002. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary says euthanasia or physician-assisted suicide is the act or practice of causing or permitting the death of hopelessly sick or injured individuals, such as persons or domestic animals, in a relatively painless way for reasons of mercy. Some of you may know this method of mercy as mercy killing. It is called this due to the base of its reasoning being about relieving the suffering of sick and dying individuals. The integrity of physician-assisted suicide is often debated because of the Hippocratic Oath. The Hippocratic Oath is an oath embodying a code of medical ethics usually taken by those about to begin medical practice, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. It also conflicts with many religions and their teachings. Many religions say it is morally wrong to commit such an act, and it goes against what many people believe. In fact, it goes against what I was raised to believe, but from personal experiences, I am for it. Physician-assisted suicide will save people and their families from going through end-of-life care, will save people from the cost of long-term medical bills, and will eliminate the pain and suffering of the patient. Physician-assisted suicide should be legalized in all 50 states in the U.S. Next slide, please. The worldwide debate over a terminally ill patient's right to choose what way they want to die was started by Jack Kevorkian, also known as Dr. Death. He was a pathologist from Michigan who is said to have helped with over 130 suicides of terminally ill patients from 1990 to 1998. Dr. Kevorkian drove a Volkswagen van that contained the Thanatron, which is Greek for the instrument of death. This machine only cost him $45 to make, and it contained 3 bottles, the first being a saline solution, then a painkiller, and finally a dose of potassium chloride, which stops the heart. He would put the needle in their arm, but the patients would administer the drugs themselves. Later, due to the lack of availability of drugs, he used the Mercitron, which it was just a mask that released carbon monoxide. He later served 8 years in prison for second-degree murder and the administration of a controlled substance. Today it has become the norm for people to die in hospitals or nursing homes, but it isn't always a good experience for the people involved. According to the American Medical Association, many people dying in institutions have unmet needs for symptom amelioration, physician communication, emotional support, and being treated with respect. Family members of descendants who received care at home with hospice services were more likely to report a favorable dying experience. Although end-of-life care has improved over the years, it isn't painless, easy, or quick. This often makes people feel like a burden to their families and loved ones. According to the Annals of Oncology, Volume 24, elderly patients often feel as though they are burdens on others and struggle to find meaning at the end of life. These feelings also apply to terminally ill patients. Competent terminally ill and or geriatric patients with families often feel guilt for the treatment they need to stay alive and the emotional stress they put on their families. Legalizing physician-assisted suicide can cut down this horrendous time for both the patients and the families if the patient chooses to do so. A long stay in the hospital or at home treatment can rack up quite the bill. Next slide. Insurance has a limit of how much they can cover per term, and most people don't have the money to cover the difference. Also, not everyone is able to have health insurance. Paying for end-of-life care is more expensive than paying for the cost of the drugs required for assisted suicide. According to the article End-of-Life Options, Hospice Costs and Who Pays for Care, in 2009 Medicare paid $55 million for doctor and hospital bills incurred during the last 2 months of patients' lives. Hospital inpatient charges exceeded $6,200 per day, and costs to maintain someone in an ICU can reach up to $10,000 per day. Although insurance for those who have it does not pay for some health care costs, it does not pay for all of it. And according to U.S. healthcare and medical debt statistics, in the United States, 42.9 million people have medical debt, and about 2 million have gone bankrupt. The average cost of the drugs required, which are secobarbital and Seconal, is about $3,000 to $5,000, which is much less than the average cost of medical bills for a long-term / terminal illness, according to the Death with Dignity Center. Due to the cost being so high, patients often feel very guilty for the extra stress they are putting on their loved ones. This can also make someone feel as if they are a burden to their loved ones and make their experience that much more unbearable. Emotional and physical pain is often at an all-time high during the last few months or longer of a terminally ill or geriatric patient. Being diagnosed with something as severe, life-threatening, or mind-altering can lead to depression and guilt. A study in Portland, Oregon, interviewed families of patients who committed physician-assisted suicide 1 year after the fact. The doctors who conducted the interviews found that an average of 14 months after the death, family members had a low prevalence of depression and grief, according to the Journal of Pain and Symptom Management. It gives the patients who have had their lives ripped away from them a chance to gain control of their life and gives them a sense of dignity. Critical care medicine states, "We know that for many dying patients, the motivation for requesting physician-assisted suicide may not be physical suffering, but loss of control, pointless suffering, deterioration or loss of dignity, and weakness or tiredness, for which there are no effective medical treatments, though we still advocate attempts at palliating these types of suffering. Death may not be a pleasant experience, but it may be the only way to end these forms of suffering. Religion often plays a major role." Next slide. Times 2. Religion often plays a major role in deciding which laws should or should not be passed, whether people realize it or not. Many of our laws today reflect those of which can be read in the Ten Commandments from the Bible. For example, the Assemblies of God, the largest Pentecostal denomination in the United States, opposes physician-assisted suicide and euthanasia. The denomination teaches that life is a sacred gift and that only God should determine when life ends, according to Pew Research Center's Religion and Public Life Project. Other religions believe it goes against the commandments given by God. There are many similarities between religions on why physician-assisted suicide is unethical or unjust. According to the Pew Research Center, 70.6% of the United States population is considered to be of a Christian faith. There are only about 22.8% of people in the United States who are not affiliated with any religion. These numbers can greatly affect the legalization of physician-assisted suicide in many states. The Hippocratic Oath isn't really used anymore because to treat cancer you have to use radiation, which is technically deadly to the body. So, in consideration to the many facts given above, it's unethical because of the Hippocratic Oath and religious views. However, there is plenty of information given why physician-assisted suicide is beneficial for not only the patients who are terminally ill or older age, but is also beneficial for the families and loved ones also affected by the patient's prognosis.